Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to this panel, which has just disappeared. I have to warn you before we start, my German level is that of a 2-year-old child. So forgive me if it's predominantly English that we talk. First of all, I want to say thank you to Robert, to Till, and to Bridget for getting me here, giving me the opportunity. My name is Carl Martin. I, for the past 14 or so years, have been involved or been responsible for the International Production Meeting in London. I also run another conference in Hungary, Event Production Forum, both of which have included this subject in recent discussions. What I want to do today, though, is get away from the negativity that we've been hearing for the past 2 or 3 years and get some positive results. So I want to introduce the panel, or rather they can introduce themselves. They're here to help us do this. The only other important thing I want to say is, please, if you've got anything to say on the floor, stick your hand up. Axel will appear with a microphone. Give us your name, your company, etc. And then just say what you've got to say, but please get involved from day one, because this isn't a bunch of lecturers with a question and answers at the end of it. And in fact, if we don't get any questions or any comments, we're all going home soon. So, can we start in the corner with Andreas, please? Would you give us...
Hi, my name is Andreas Kosmovic. I'm here on this chair in my position as one of the heads of the Ancient Trance Festival, which is a world music and Jews harp festival, very familiar. We have about 20 persons of children. And my position to this topic is from a very community-driven festival and actually voluntarily driven and also with a non-commercial character.
Thank you, Andreas. Just one question. Ancient Trance Festival, is that the music I used to dance to 20 years ago?
Maybe, if it's like our approach in booking is find the music which is mostly non-electronic but also very trancey. So
Good.
Just imagine a didgeridoo, a drum and maybe a mouth harp, and you're having a lot of beats and break beats and everything, and then you just rock on off this music.
Thank you. Ivana,
Yeah.
good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Ivana Dragila. I'm the head of marketing at the company which is called EPS. We are the supplier of crowd control systems and event flooring, so everyone who was entering this venue just crossed the crowd control barriers. They are coming from us, just to have an imagine what we are supplying. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here and talk this morning with all of you and my colleagues here on this panel. And yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. Thank you. Paul.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Pike. Been involved in the live music industry for longer than I should be remembering, probably 45 years plus. Started off in merchandising. Was the first person to introduce merchandising sales as concession venues in England and here, funnily enough. Moved into sponsorship, working with companies like Levi's and Coke, Marlboro cigarettes, although I never smoked a cigarette in my life. But since 2010, I've been involved in technology, and particularly payment technology. So I'm a consultant presently for a major American transaction company called Global Payments, and we provide electronic point of sale and payment systems to many events throughout the world, but particularly in festivals. We probably do 40 festivals in the UK at the moment. We're looking to come into Europe next year, and very much looking forward to the market here, but very pleased to be here, and thanks very much, Carl, for inviting me.
Pleasure. in my 2-year-old children's definition of what's on the board, it says with regards to the recession in 2023, although I think we're probably in a recession now, is this going to make festivals a luxury? Or thoughts? Ivana?
Well, I would say festivals had always been a luxury. So if you just think back how when we talk about prices and about big festivals, they have always costed a lot of money. I just remember when I was a student, I couldn't afford some kind of huge festivals or a ticket for huge festivals because it was absolutely too much money for me at the time. So I would say if people like to go there, they will try to get the money, but they were always so expensive just to get to it. So it was some kind of luxury always, like probably a vacation, for example. So if it's your passion to go there, you would try to pay for it, but I wouldn't say that it's just a new trend. It was always very expensive at the time, whatever. If we talk about big festivals, if we talk probably about smaller festivals, then it's probably easier.
Well, okay, if we're talking about smaller festivals, Andreas, you're from a smaller festival. Do you regard your festival as a luxury?
It depends. We started in 2010 and the first 100 tickets we sold were €15. So our approach always was to have the people being able to pay the prices. For sure, now at the end we'll be at 120, 125 in the next year. So we raised our prices very much, but still there's the opportunity to take part in the festival as a volunteer. So it really depends. The first festival I've been has been the Hurricane Festival, I don't know, in 1999 or something. So there, it was very cheap. It was like, I don't know, 80 marks. But it was still, for a student, it was quite expensive. So it depends what you want. If you want to see big bands, if you want to have the whole, like, I don't know, 20, 40,000 people experience, then it might be a luxury. But if you want to meet and connect with people and with friends and community, then you will find the spots that are not really luxury, but some kind of experiences that are still affordable. However, it might be that in the next years you can't take part in so many festivals as you have used to be maybe in the years before Corona.
What is the inflation rate in Germany at the moment?
Anyone an idea?
9%? 10%?
10%.
Okay.
10%, Axel says. Okay, because in Hungary, for instance, in Central Europe, it's 27%. And already what in Central and Eastern Europe, one of the major festivals, the story's only been in the newspapers, they're not confirming at the moment, but it's a festival that has an attendance of 100,000 over 3 or 4 days over a weekend. It's been going for about 22 years, and next year it's not happening because the staffing costs, etc. I come here, and I've been talking to people over the last couple of days. People don't seem to think there's going to be that much of a problem with festivals. Am I getting the wrong impression? Is Germany immune from this problem?
I don't think so. I think there will be festivals. Like also this year, we had been facing festivals like a decline in the audience. So there have been festivals that could keep their audience also in the size, but all other festivals, on the other hand, they had a big decline, and so I think this might be a problem here as well, and I think we will have a consolidation, at least in the productions that require a lot of money. So in the smaller festivals, maybe the community is a little bit stronger and people have been there for other reasons than just to see big bands or big shows. But I think it really depends on the production and how they are connected with the community and how the community is committed with the productions.
But just my question to you, they stopped this festival because they didn't want to increase the prices as that much to
They couldn't afford to. Their budget
Okay.
wouldn't allow them. With the increase in staffing costs, plus the lack of staff, I suspect is affecting it. But it's the cost of production, the cost of staff, energy prices in Eastern Europe. They've gone up by anything 10 to 15 times what they were 3 months ago. So everything's affecting it.
Yeah, I mean, everything is affected here as well. I don't know. Did you increase the prices?
Moderately this year.
Okay.
So we try to like there's this Neustadt Kultur. I think most of you know it. This won't be the case next year, so we don't have the fundings maybe in next year as we have had last year or past season. However, I think there are ways, and from my perspective, I'm not so sure how big the budgets are, like for booking and tours and for all this kind of production costs. We know that this also is the case for us, that it's getting more expensive. But on the other hand, at least our audience isn't caught by the big names on the lineup. So we can find our ways to provide an experience which is similar, sufficient, or satisfying for our audience, without raising the budgets in every corner of our organization.
I've forgotten his name. Andrew Zvek, who is the agent for Depeche Mode and for Roger Waters and others, sat in a conference this year, and one of the statements, it was a conference about our things, you know, are we going mad with money, etc., etc. And one of the things he said is artists are going to have to learn they're not going to make so much money. My question to him was, have you told Roger yet? He said he was going to. But is there a reduction in artist fees? You know, is there any reduction anywhere to help people put on festivals?
I think historically, I mean, events generally have evolved. If you look back to when I started in the 80s, the perception of festivals was always kind of mud, warm beer and lousy food. And it's reasonably correct. If you look at festivals these days, glamping and kind of the higher end tickets are always the first to go, even in heavy metal or heavy rock events. Glastonbury, for instance, have just increased their prices to £350, sold out in less than an hour. Now, obviously, those type of events are always going to sell out, but I think the industry historically tends to tell us that we are, to some degree, recession-proof. We're now facing different challenges because obviously there's a massive cost inflation of things like staff, equipment. There's a shortage of equipment, so demand and supply, etc. So, but I think the industry itself will find a level, and people do like to still go out, even though they might be struggling at home. So I'm quite optimistic generally from what I see.
Okay, what is technology, what benefits is technology going to give to promoters and those involved with events for the future? And what has been there and not been used?
Well, again, historically, my issue generally is that promoters don't know who is walking through their door. They don't actually have any relationship at the moment. I'm talking generally, of course. But in general, you know, I buy a ticket, the ticket agent knows who I am, but I buy for 3 or 4 other people. There's no relationship between the people who are coming with me and the promoter. And this leaves, for me, a massive gap in terms of the opportunities for promoters and owners to earn new revenue. And particularly when it comes down to relationships with commercial partners, sponsorship. As I say, I've been in sponsorship, or was in sponsorship for a long time. And traditionally, sponsorships are sold, that's it. There's a fee, they take their money, they're allowed certain rights in terms of, brand, advertising, media and so forth. But the promoter doesn't get involved in the activation on the ground, which for me is where the future revenue source potentially lies. Because if you take there is a relationship between festivals, not just for the event, but before and after the event. And that's where, for me, commercial partners are actually very interested in extending their relationship, and also potentially for the festivals and events, bringing new partners in, new commercial partners who don't really understand or want to be just high-level brand advertisers, but at the same time they might want to be involved with the audience going to those festivals. So this is for me a brave new frontier, which is where we're coming from, because we feel we've now got the payment end of it right. Works very well. Let's move on to understanding and joining up some of these technologies which historically have been very siloed. You've had a ticket system, access system, food, drink, markets, fairgrounds. They're all disparate. And then you have the commercial partners. If you can join all those together, have some relationship with everyone who walks through the door, for me this is now the opportunity. And everyone's got a smartphone. We've got a direct personal channel potentially with everyone coming to that festival, an event. It needs to be worked harder in my estimation.
Is that improving? Because I used to work for a company called Intellytix, which was a rival to Paul. And we did cashless and we did access control. And one of the events we did was snow bombing, which is a 4 or 5 day festival in the Austrian Tyrol, and it has about 5 or 6 major venues. And at a conference shortly afterwards, Gareth, the promoter, was being asked about this technology. Was it useful? And he said, yeah. He said, you know what? And he says, the only promoter I've ever heard say anything like this. But he said, I sat down and looked at the beer sales in the Racket Club, which was one of the venues. He said, and one night there were huge beer sales. So I asked my bookers, who was the DJ that night? And they told him, and he said, book him again next year, because he's obviously shite and everybody just goes and gets a beer and increases our profits. It's a very basic thing.
I won't name the very big festival years and years ago when I first started talking about cashless. But I had the same idea about deliberately booking a crap band on at certain times, which would drive sales of beer in the festival. I thought it was quite an interesting concept.
Well, there you are. There's one of the benefits of technology. You can book crap bands at a low price and increase your beer sales.
I think that's definitely a case. Also, in a voluntarily driven festival, we need to raise some funds to support the project and to have the show running, even if we as the organizers don't take money out of it. My question is about what is the purpose of festivals, and what should we provide to the audiences? What should we provide to the communities? Is it really about having the people drinking beer only to make money for the breweries and only to make money for ourselves and to have a good living of it, which is totally fine, which is totally good. Everyone needs to make money or to earn money. And on the other hand, there is it might be a deeper reason below why we do a festival, why we organize this, why we're doing all these months of organization, maybe to support culture, to support the artists, to grow creativity, to bring people into connection, to do something out of it. And I'm not sure how to bring this together, the both perspectives of like the event business and the cultural thing. And in Germany we have a lot of high culture, which is like, let's say, classical music and everything, which is funded very, very, I don't know, very strongly, and which is subsidized by the government. And festivals aren't. They need sponsorship for having big artists. They need some other partnerships. They need business analysis for I don't know, seeing who's bringing the most people to the bar, and or who's raising the most funds from the merchandise. And I think this is an interesting question. Where do we want to go? What is our mission? Is there a common mission? Is there a lot of different missions? And what do we want to bring also in times of recession, in times of insecurities, in times of war just in the neighborhood? What do we want to do with that? And what do we want to help the people? Do we want to have them just forget about this and to have a headache the next day? Or do we want to bring in some education or some messages about keeping the society together? So what can we do there, and what is the purpose of the existence of festivals?
How many festival promoters have we got in the audience? One? Is that it? Would you mind answering a question for us, please? What is the purpose of your festival? You want to make money? Do you want to bring culture to the community? Do you want to do both? Could you give us your name and you don't have to give us the festival, just give us your name.
My name is Leah, and we organize a big festival in the north. And our aim is obviously to entertain people, but also we are a company, so we want to make money. It has to be profitable for us.
What size is your festival?
More than 75,000.
So it's not small?
No.
Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thanks.
I think like in any other industry, I mean, there are different levels, aren't there? There's different festivals. I mean, in general, we're here to entertain, I would have thought. But obviously, if it's a specialist, say, I don't know, book festival, then it has another purpose. Or if it's a cultural festival, then, as Andreas said, it's probably more likely to get funding. Same in the UK, but from my perspective, I mean, in general, it's demand-led. You tend to find, you know, we've moved more into kind of dance-led festivals, like from my end, Creamfields and that type of event now. And from the future, I guess, you know, it still depends on the lineup. Look at Download. You know, they announced Slipknot and Metallica doing 2 nights with a different set over those 2 nights. Download's sold out. You know, it's 85,000. So again, I think from my perspective, it's down to us providing entertainment and fulfilling a demand. And if we do that, then obviously we'll sell tickets.
Yeah, but you were talking about what can we deliver, what are people expecting. So we just said, okay, forget about the current situation, about inflation, about the war, about everything what's happening politically on this earth. So I think if you look back to the history, it was always the same thing. So if we just look back into the 20s when we had the crash on the stock market, it was absolutely the same. So the 30s were full of entertainment. Of course, they were full of cheaper entertainment at the time, with cinemas and TVs and stuff, not TVs and radios and stuff like that. But I think people need that because, I mean, we had seen that also during COVID, that in the first moment, everyone was telling, yeah, we don't need the culture. It's not the main thing we need. But of course we need that because our souls need that. It's some kind of, we are all humans and we need to escape from the reality and not, yeah. And I think that's one thing why festivals or concerts in general will be always a need of people. And so I think that's what you said. We need entertainment, and this is, I don't know, maybe this is something why also these kind of big festivals or other festivals are still selling out. And yeah, of course, they want to see the bands, they want to see the shows.
I think people also like, there's a community. People like being with other people, for instance, in different genres of festival, who are interested in the same thing. It's a common purpose. It's not like a football game where there's two sides. Yep. Everyone's got one mind. So we need to be thinking about that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a community, it's a connection, isn't it?
Actually, yes. And my idea now that came while you were talking was about what is like the roots of the festivals and how did people gather together and find together in their communities. Like 100 years ago, 150 years ago, people always wanted to entertain. I totally agree with that purpose and with this aim. And still, festivals are not the only, like, let's say, cultural events there. Also in, like, let's say, popular music or whatever there is. We have this kind of city festivals. When you go somewhere, for example, in India, when you say festival, they think about, I don't know, Holi or other things that are not a luxury, but they are just culture. So it does not need to be very expensive to people to live there or to fulfill their need to be entertained. So the festivals, as they happen, are like in kind of concurrency with other events that fulfill the same need and maybe even cheaper, because then you just go to the city center when there is this kind of, I don't know what, let's say, music on the market for free. So maybe some people are okay with that experience, and other people want to go on the meadow to camp and see other people. So I think it's very important to find out what the people want of your event, why they go there, and what's the reason of the experience. Is it really the bands, or is it cool to just have been at an event where this band played, which I didn't see because I was laying in my tent, just totally broken down. So what is it? Why do I go there? And what is the kind of culture I want to experience?
Paul, your technology, does this help the promoter? I mean, how do you react with the audience yourselves? How do you get their data that's going to be useful for the promoters? I know there's numerous laws that stop you doing it, but go tell that to Google.
Well, I mean, the very first kind of rule in any of this is do not abuse the data that you collect, because the minute you do, you lose, you just lose any credibility. So, forget the actual rules, GDPR, whatever. The very fundamental principle is, have a relationship with your ticket visitor, but make sure there's a reward. It's a reward experience. If you give someone a benefit, they'll give you more data. And if you don't abuse that data, then it means the relationship's stronger. in the same way when you're then sharing, you're not sharing that data with a commercial partner, you're managing it on behalf of your event for the commercial partner to everyone's benefit. So, for instance, it might well be that you've got, an AI treasure hunt recently in Spain at Elro. One of my partner companies did an Easter egg hunt, and they dropped.
Sorry, did what?
Did an Easter egg hunt like Pokemon, which probably maybe you haven't experienced, Carl, but I certainly hadn't either. But anyway, they dropped 1,000 Easter eggs, virtual Easter eggs around the festival, and to get people to come to the festival early, they if you collected 5, you got a reward. I don't know, free beer, whatever it was. But if you collected more than 10, there were certain levels, you ended up with a side of stage ticket pass. Now, those Easter eggs went within the first hour of them opening the doors, all of them. But one of their major sponsors came to them and said, look, we really would have loved to know about this, because next year, if you do it, if you replace the Easter egg with our product, which happened to be a drink, we'd sponsor that. So that's a completely new opportunity that, as I say, if you're managing data on behalf of the people coming to you, and also you're in the middle, and it all comes down to being able to talk directly to the consumer or to the visitor. And that means you can extend the relationship. You can start to do things, if you do this before the event, then when you come to the event, you get a reward. If you do something at the event, you go into a retailer or whatever environment afterwards, and you get another reward. In the past, I've done things with Barclaycard, for instance. We just, very simple stuff. This time when we were doing it with Barclaycard, we knew the Barclaycard member, but every hour we'd have an upgrade. So randomly, we picked 2 people who came through the turnstile, send them an SMS. You've been upgraded to VIP. You didn't have to do anything. Just go across to gate 5. We'd already notified the gate that your wristband was upgraded, and in you went. Very simple, but the social media benefit of that is enormous, because they start shouting about it positively on social media. It's just simple marketing. And my mantra is that you're only limited by your imagination now. That's it. You can try things. You don't need to put it out across the whole site. You can do things very simply. Try it. If it works, roll it out. But if you've got the relationship, then why not use it? And my problem in the past has always been that data's been held by literally the ticket agencies, because it's been, you put an event on, how do I sell my ticket? You appoint a ticket agent, they hold the data. Consequently, you don't know who's walking through your doors. It's, for me, fundamental.
I was just thinking about the fact, so you're just telling, okay, you're using more the technology, you're just trying to get more sponsors, so you're just getting or activating sponsors, so just trying to get more creative about doing it more profitable or doable. So I think it's our part as well, from every one of us, just to get creative how to do more, how to connect, or how to make it better, and not getting stuck into old the good old back days, and just to try new things. And I would say this is something good what happened during COVID, because we are, as a company, are also seeing that people are trying to communicate with each other. Promoters are communicating with each other, so they are just trying to share knowledge, share things, and make the best out of it. So this wasn't happened before. This wasn't happening.
How are they doing that? Can you give us an example?
Yeah, it's not more about it's not okay. The example is for example for concerts, or if they're sharing, for example, our products. Yeah, so they're just keeping it for a longer time. So it's not just. building it up and just tearing it down. So it's just longer there. They're sharing some materials. They're trying to cut costs down. So it's just up and down, building everything all the time. So they're just keeping it longer, and it's easier for everyone. But the question is, can we do that more on another level? Can we share stages or whatever?
Is it only recently this has started to happen?
It started, yeah. It happened.
But
yeah.
people have been crapping on about sustainability for years. And here's an obvious example. Share your...
Sharing, yeah, it is. Sharing, just trying to think about bringing gear and all the stuff from one city to another one, just trying to... I mean, everything started, I don't know, with U2 when they would on tour, I think, with 3 stages from this big stage. And I mean, it was just, touring all around the world with I don't know how many trucks. So currently they really started to think about cutting it down or making it more sustainable and at the end more profitable.
Well, sorry, I have to ask this question because not only have I been involved with the music industry for years, but also the event world. And I know Paul was involved with some of the Olympic stuff in London. My question has always been, why is it for every Olympics they build a new venue for every sport and they go on and leave it alone, and all around the world there are these white elephants that are never... Why don't they just use reusable, portable buildings, which, the technology's been there for years and years and years? Why does the music is it because the artist wants, I want a Superdome and I want this and I want that, and you're not having it because I've got it? I mean, is it really because of COVID that people are actually beginning to talk sense? Hang on a minute. Martina, I'm going to pick on you because you haven't said a word. Introduce yourself, please, and then I'll ask you the question.
Well, I'm Martina. Nice to meet you. Croatia, show production. Yes, Carl.
Martina is involved with productions throughout Central and Eastern Europe. Is this something that's happening down where we are?
Absolutely, yes. Croatia had in 2008 big handball championship, and we built 7-8 arenas which completely weren't necessary. Only Zagreb Arena is, the one that actually brought into Zagreb really big shows and something that we could facilitate there because shows got bigger and bigger. But the rest of the arenas, they're just falling apart. And we have the situation in we both know, in Split Arena that is just now became, I don't know, it should be squatted by people. Like a big squat. Yeah, no, it's went to bankruptcy, and we are closing it down for next year, I think. So
it's interesting. I know in the UK during COVID, again, there was one big company that was going to give equipment into the four main arenas in the UK and just leave it there so people could drive in, use it, and then go away. But then that restricted it to the 4 big arenas. Because if they wanted to go off and do something somewhere else, they had to take their equipment with them. And of course, greed dictates that they've got to play more than 4 arenas, so it didn't work. Sorry, Andreas.
Yeah, I was thinking about your talks about the consolidation and let's say synergies, finding synergies. Also, this is what happens with the let's say independent festival organizers in Germany. As far as I can see this, 2 weeks ago we've been to a conference at the North Sea, which was the festival playground. It took part the second time, and there have been 120 mostly non-commercial independent festival organizers with 600 attendees, and we took part in this conference and found ways to cooperate more, to find to find new ways and to learn from each other, and to maybe in other companies that produce a lot of festivals per year, this already happens, but maybe there are some departments that don't work together so well. But I think this can be a big chance to share the knowledge, to share the experiences, and to find ways to be more sustainable, sharing places, sharing more infrastructure, working together with providers, maybe finding some deals that work for the providers, that work for the organizers, to coordinate the tours a little bit better, to work a little bit more together, because I think there's, especially in those times, we're not in the situation to work against each other. We have to work with each other. We have to work together. We don't have to think about, okay, this festival is the same production with the same audience, then we have to take the shares of the audience. We should find the spots to meet. We should find for sure there's always some, like, how to say, concurrency, I don't know. But on the other hand, the commons are the things we should concentrate on.
Yeah, and it's more about sustainability. I mean, the costs are also rising because we have different needs and laws we need to think and need to follow. So the costs are rising as well because we need to do it, which is good, because we don't want to have some tragedies on festivals and on concerts. So there is a need, and it's good. So you were talking about the evaluation of concerts and tours. So yes, it's not like in the 70s. So I think we have a completely other kind of other experience of people, what to expect from a festival or from a kind of entertainment. So I think everything went up, and that's logical that also costs are going up. But yeah, I think it's just about how we can do it, how we can share it, and how we can make it better. And I think prices are always positive in that way, because we are just trying to communicate more with each other and to work with each other. That's really a good thing that's happening right now, also in terms of sustainability. Why do we use all these kind of stuff and just buying it and throwing it away, or just shipping one thing from, I don't know, from Stockholm to Madrid and then back to whatever. So it's just sometimes the routing is also sometimes really crazy, I would say, or interesting.
I think the sustainability is a very, very big thing, because the generations are changing, and younger people, in my experience, are much more aware about what do I want to support, which structures do I want to support. And it's not only about greenwashing, but it's really about, like, having an environment that works for our children and grandchildren. So when we go somewhere and we know, okay, this is, I can forget about it and I can do my party, it's totally legitimate. But on the other hand, for many people this isn't sufficient anymore. So we should, like, as organizers, see what is our how can we participate, how can we anticipate to have in this situation. And the thing I said before, it's about education, and to help the people finding their way.
Yeah, I have to defend the more mature end of the population as well. We're just as aware of the common sense that we should all be using. And what amazed me, I was involved with the design and build of Arena Oberhausen, and we had to put in 5 different waste type containers. And I said, what's this all about? And I asked the guy from the local city, do you really take all this away and separate it, or do you do what they do in the US and just put it all in the landfill? And the next day he took me down to a building which had all of these containers coming in, and aluminium went there and rubbish went there, and there were people separating this stuff up on huge conveyor belts, doing a job I wouldn't want to know about, but it was wonderful. And at the end of it, there was a big pile of stuff that you couldn't separate. And I said, what happens to that then? And he said, watch. And the digger came along, tipped it into this big funnel, and he said, come with me. We went outside. There was another container. Coming out of the wall were little pellets, looked like sheep's or rabbit's doodah, which went into the container, which he then told me went to the power station and was used to heat the district heating, etc. That was in 1996. We had nothing like that in the UK until the early 2010s. The word you used is correct, it's education, but it's getting people to listen as well.
I think we need to take a lesson from. I don't know if you saw this last week, the Japanese audience for their match. They apparently picked up the litter from the previous game, as well as clearing their own litter from that event. And for those of you who've worked in Japan, I mean, it's a revelation from that point of view. And we all know. I mean, you had a panel yesterday, I think, about sustainability and detritus left after events. I mean, it's a big issue for us, but or the industry, I think. But again, there's potentially technology could assist. Why don't incentivize people? Reward people for doing things. Reward them for maybe having more sustainable tents. The big problem there is the fact that if you could buy a tent and a sleeping bag and maybe a barbecue for 40 or 50 euros, what's the incentive at the end of 3 days when it's pouring with rain for you to pack up and take it home? There's no incentive whatsoever. And this causes a big cost problem. It's a problem for the environment. So again, incentivize it. Get a sponsor. Find a company that actually would pay to incentivize people to do that.
There's a few here.
Yeah, exactly. But they don't have to be headline. My whole point is they don't have to be headline sponsors. They don't have to follow the old thing of, in order for you to put your name on the stage, you've got to pay us £1 million or whatever. Immediately everyone runs away. There's thousands of new companies out there who want to get involved in our world, probably at the moment don't know how to do it. And sorry, just one other thing. If you go to most of the big festivals, this is always a bugbear for me, you maybe get, I work at festivals, maybe you've got 20 different drinks brands, activating on site. None of it coordinated through the promoter. But you might have a major drinks brand with, I don't know, stage, DJ, VIP bit, 3,000 or 4,000 people outside that area all day long for 4 days. The sponsor of that area wouldn't have a clue about any of them. And yet, surely part of their activation is to try and get those people to use their product outside the event. So again, all of this is, it's back to the limited by your imagination for me. And it's taken a long time. I think COVID perversely has helped us because it has actually made people think about everything from costs to the way they run their festivals now. But the opportunities are there.
I just remember times when we were supplying and organizing glamping at Rock am Ring, and people were getting some sleeping bags from us. And at the end, some of them didn't want to take them home. And then we were in touch with an organization, a local organization, that was collecting those kind of sleeping bags and providing to homeless people, which was great. It was a huge... They were so thankful and everyone was thankful. So it was just a purpose. It was just not throwing away. It was just helping each other, which is just a small part. But it was just, it was a good thing and everyone was happy. And that's something cool that's happening more and more, I think. And we're just trying to think about new ways how to make it beneficial, how to make an event or a festival beneficial for everyone.
Sure. I've actually allowed this discussion to wander off the main question, which is, are festivals a luxury? I think we're all in agreement they are, really. But if people want to spend money on them, it's up to them. All we've been trying to do is put in our 2 pence as to how to improve your festival. Which would make it less luxurious and more affordable. And of course, at the end of the day, the promoter will make a lot of money, which is the object, I think, of most promoters' lives. If there's anybody in the audience who wants to argue with that, I'd be happy to. You use volunteers.
Yes.
Where do they come from? Who are they?
Where do they get them from?
Okay. We're doing this since 2010, so there are a lot of people volunteering since then, and in general we get them from our community and from our newsletters and social media. So we always have a call for volunteers and also a call for organizers, to be honest. And I think people who come to volunteer, they want to have another experience. They want an experience to be part of the team, to be part of the project. And this is something which is partly very different from being just a guest on a festival. Also, I had this experience just to see the bands, to hang around, to drink around, whatever. But to have some duty to take care of a part of the whole project, and to get to know the people, to get to know the project, to see who is behind this project, what is the culture of the organization, how do they treat not only their guests, but how do they treat the people who are working there. And I think also this fulfills something which lies in ourselves as people, as mankind, to help, to be part of it, to be needed, as well as contractors. Also they take part and hopefully are happy on our festival.
Andrea, do they have to pay to volunteer? Because
they have to pay a
if you go to
deposit.
Glastonbury or Download or wherever, the volunteers that are there, and it's an industry now, we need volunteers because it will save us money.
Yeah.
They have to pay a sum of money.
No, with us they pay a deposit and they
Right.
get the refund after the
And what does that deposit cover? If
That's-
they don't turn up, or if they slope off to watch a band, or what?
It's just they pay a ticket and we refund that at the end.
Okay.
Very simple.
How do you control that?
We have a team about that.
Okay.
And all our team leads are advised to confirm every successful participation in volunteering at the end.
Okay.
That's a big organization. This is 600 people. So that's a big effort for us.
Yeah.
We cannot say if it's profitable or if it's just for the community, but at least it's part for the culture
Yeah,
of
at
our
least it's
organization.
the local community. I mean, Roskilde, they have thousands. I think they've got about 4 full-time staff, which is probably a bit of a lie, but you know, they run Roskilde based on the volunteering side. Now, there are those that would say, but that's putting other people out of work. I've already been involved in that argument. I'm not getting into it again. Paul, do you use volunteers?
No, we have a policy of paying everyone. I'm involved with the University of Guildford, at Guildford, and I try and use event management students where I can, but I pay them. I don't. I mean, obviously, we have to train them to start with. It's not particularly taxing, but I generally don't use volunteers.
Yes, same with us. So yeah, we need to train the stuff because it looks probably easy, but it's not that easy to build that kind of equipment and think about what's needed on a site to make it safe. So yes, we are just booking them. We are just having not stage hand. We have hands and we're training them, of course.
Okay. Now, in order to run these luxurious festivals, one of our problems at the moment has been lack of staffing. Are you finding that, or is it improving, or?
It's tough, I would say. I think every one of us had this summer. If I look into the audience, probably I will see some some smiles or agreeing with me that, yeah, they were really tough times. So, I mean, we were booking stuff and 10-20% were not being there on site. So it was because of different reasons, of course, sickness or whatever. But it was not easy. But I mean, I think the industry was happy that this summer, that they have survived the summer, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think COVID saw a lot of people within our industry leave because obviously there was a complete shutdown. I think a lot of people left and did other things, so it's attracting them back. And I think we're all very happy that, particularly, last year, but particularly this year has gone as well as it could do. But there's definitely shortages of staff in sectors. Whether that will come back, I imagine it will come back fairly quickly, because obviously if there is, as we know, a recession at the moment, then people are going to look to be able to earn, if they can earn money at, in the summer period, students particularly, but other people as well, then obviously they're going to take those jobs.
Have you had any problems attracting volunteers?
It's always difficult. Like, we have the number of, or we match almost the number we need. But on the other hand, I think it's as recruiting for every department. You need the right people, you need the right intentions. You have no-shows for sure. So, or whatever. We cannot do a thorough recruiting in the beginning, because we're having to work on other projects to be able to do our voluntary work on ourselves. So it's not so easy. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people on the festival, and we can always go outside and say, hey, we have some jobs, we need help. And then it's also always a possibility to have an incentive, like a free food, free drinks, to make a shift and to help out.
So, repeating what Paul said, give people an incentive and life will improve all around.
Incentives are very important for work, like volunteers.
I think the most important thing though is training, because obviously you can't just shove anyone, even if they're paid, into a role where they don't understand what it is they're supposed to be doing. And that has a major impact on the sector that they're dealing with. Doesn't matter whether it's, car parking or, stewarding in some form or other. It's got to be a training process, and especially these days with all the health and safety considerations.
Same with the volunteers.
Yeah.
We need to
Exactly
continuity.
that was exactly.
Yeah, same here. I mean, you said it just a few minutes ago, education, and that's one of the most important parts nowadays, I would say, in our sector. I would say two things: sustainability and education. These were becoming the main topics, and I think this is what we need to think more about it.
Well, I'm sure that people will realise that sustainability is common sense, but you just have to think about it. But the training is essential, and a lot of parents need to understand that as well. Because kids are coming out of school thinking, I'm going to rule the world. No, you're not. You've got to work for a living, and you've got to look after the environment. We all know that. And that's why I'm defending the matures, because we have been saying it for a while. I've had a good time this morning, and I want to thank my guests for being quite educational as well as provocative, and I hope that you as the audience have got something out of it. We will be back next year with a more provocative subject, and that's just made Bridget worry. Listen, thanks a million. We're supposed to finish on time. So we've got 19, 18, 17, 16. The reason we're saying this is because we've been on television. So if you see Axel, he'll sort out the fees for you, or he'll talk to your agent. Axel, thanks a million for doing your job. Andreas, Ivana, Paul,
Thank you.
Thanks a million. Bye-bye.